These are phases and cycles which all of us should kind of try to run around. So we can talk about 1 year, then we will talk about much more pessimistically, but the decade, I've been very delighted and prepared for this decade. There has been some time it has taken for us to get there, and some of the place like EV is not moved as fast as we would like it to move, but I'm very clear that whichever way the world goes, we are able, willing and ready. This decade should see us coming in terms of agri-productivity level to the world levels, and we can really participate in this journey with Indian farmers. So that's a big ask for us. Globalization is another one. Why can't we help every farmer across the world rise who have got India kind of environment and acreage? We don't want to do large farm, but below 50 acres, every farmer around the world, we can help them rise, and that's a big job ticket.
Okay, dynamite shrimp, not just on your plates but also on your screen, with shrimp stocks posting huge gains in the last 3 months. Let's find out what's driving the rally. Varun's joining us with more on that. Varun?
Let's talk about the rally first. Apex up 10% yesterday, Avanti up 6%, and Waterbase up 12% off the lowest base. Now you got to look at, these are all considerable moves, but on a 3-month basis, they barely scratched the surface, because Avanti's has doubled in 3 months, Waterbase is up 30% in 3 months, and Apex Foods is up 60% in 3 months. So if you look at the market cap addition, it's huge. Now the sales figures for Avanti specifically have improved 25% over the last 5 quarters. They're 1,000 crores versus 750 crores odd, so that's a good solid 25% jump. However, if you look at the margins haven't really improved. They've been in this 10, 13, 11, 13, 12% range, so early teens, and they're really not breaking free from this. Now, this is because the prices of the shrimp have been subdued overall. But now that trend seems to finally be changing. Now, this is a very interesting graph. What we are doing is we're plotting the prices of shrimps against the operating margins. So if you look, every time the price of the shrimp goes above $12 to $14, the operating margins fly up to 20%. So right now, you're seeing that the price is somewhere around $14, $13, but the operating margins have just not caught up. So what does that mean? That means that in H2, you are going to see a huge jump in margins and profitability for not just Avanti, but all shrimp companies. Now, specifically for Avanti, you're going to see that the margins will come back from that 12-13% range to around 17-18%. So your top line, which is now 4,500 crores, is going to generate almost 600 to 800 crores of EBITDA, or 450 to 500 crores of PAT. And you're looking at a market cap today that is, quoting 22 times PE. So on a forward basis, this compresses to around 14, 15 times. So what you're basically saying is that if shrimp prices stay where they are now, which is what it seems like, you're looking at 25 to 30% upside in all these stocks.
Okay, thank you for that, Varun. Let's get some mid-cap ideas then. Kunal, what's catching your eye from the broader market?
So it's not exactly broader markets, but a couple of buy calls I would continue to be bullish upon. First one is Marico. I think the stock is making a good comeback. FMCG stocks are trying to make a good comeback. We've seen Britannia, which rallied, I think, 100 rupees out from its day's low, and many of these other stocks are also trying to make a good comeback. Marico also in the last 2 or 3 days has managed to rise by 3%, I think from 327 lows, it's now at 335 plus. So I think at current levels it would be bought into for a short-term target of 345 and stop us at the 330 mark. And the second would be one SBI, going with the theme that many of the PSU banking names still look pretty strong. SBI is one of the strongest in that space, perched at 330 plus levels. I believe traders could look at a buy even at current levels for SBI, 350 as a target, and stop us at 333.
Okay, CK, what about you?
Well, I would look at buying into a Bata right now. I think that's a stock which is surging or afresh. It's been into an uptrend for quite some time, and we have at various points of time had buy calls in Bata all through. I think that sequence is seemingly set to continue further. Looking for a target at about 1715 or even higher. Initiate long with about 15 rupees stop loss from your entry price. Second stock to buy would be DLF. I think here the rally seems to be continuing quite slowly but very steadily and very resolutely. Stock actually punched up to fresh new highs for the current swing at these price levels of about 231.32. So I think it should roll along slowly and steadily towards 238. So initiate a buy with a nearby stop at 227.
Markets are not talking about is SBI. It's one of those elephants which is doing a tango number today. 3% higher for State Bank of India. CK, it's a reasonable comeback by SBI. It has seen couple of false starts. It is nowhere close to where it started the year with, because at the beginning of the year it appeared it is like a two-legged race with SBI and ICICI Bank both mustering a lot of strength. For the moment, State Bank of India CK is a distinct number 2. But is the last dash of 2019 still left in SBI?
I would certainly believe that to be the case. See, there are lots of things working in favor of State Bank right now, which is getting clearly reflected in the trends of the stock, as it were. Now, it had staged a multi-year breakout. That's when all of us got quite, heated up about it. And the stock also obliged by going to somewhere around 360, 370. But the pullback from there was a little sharper than what most people had anticipated. And that, I think, diluted lots of bullish views. But I think the stock has made a pretty decent comeback, and I do believe that even the recent tap was just into the minimal supports, and it continues to hold on. Now there are more triggers along the way that you're reading, whether it is this, SR resolution, whether it's going to be SBI cards issue, or it's going to be some other, let's say UTI AMC value unlocking. It doesn't matter. There's lots of positive news flows coming in, so I think that will keep State Bank aloft, and it should continue to mount a challenge to reach those earlier highs of about 360.70 in short order.
Okay, let's also get Nirav in. Nirav, good afternoon. What are some of the picks you're looking at today?
Yeah, so it's a coincidence, good afternoon first to all of y'all. It's a coincidence that even I have a buy on DLF. See, after 175 breakout, it made a high of around 226, 27 odd levels. After that, it was in a brief consolidation, which it has broken out about today. Now, very likely this stock is going to move up towards the 242, 245 odd level. So definitely, I'd also like to, buy this stock with a stop loss of 225. I believe this target should come probably, in a day or two. The second one is a buy call on HDFC AMC. Now, after a brief fall from 3700, 3800 odd levels, this stock looks like it is making a comeback. It made a hammer kind of a formation on the weekly, and now it is above the same. So, a very positive formation, also above the 50-day moving average. So, definitely, I believe, this stock is likely to move up towards the 3300, 3320 odd levels. So, I'd be buying this stock with a stop loss of 3195 and a possible target of around 3300.
All right, let's take a very quick break then. On that note, back with more on the other side, half an hour to go to close.
Introducing Bharat Bond ETF by Edelweiss Mutual Fund. You can now invest in AAA rated public sector bonds with just 1,000 rupees. Choose between short or long-term maturity. Remember, offer closes December 20th.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Land Rover, above and beyond.
हम तो चले बाली बाली, हम तो चले बाली बाली, बाली का वेदर चेक करो बेटा, पासपोर्ट पासपोर्ट.
आज 23 डिग्रीज, कल 20।
आज और कल का नहीं, 3 महीने बाद का। खन्ना अंकल हम सबको बाली ले जा रहे हैं। सॉलिड इन्वेस्टमेंट टिप मिली है, 3 महीने में पैसे डबल।
लेट मी गेस, कोई गर्मा गर्म एसएमएस टिप मिली होगी, राइट?
करेक्ट। तुझे कैसे पता?
क्योंकि मुझे भी कई सारे एसएमएस आते रहते।
अच्छा
पापा, अगर ये एसएमएस सच होते तो हर 6 महीने में हम वर्ल्ड टूर पे ना जाते। पापा, अनजाने एसएमएस पर विश्वास पैसों का
सत्यानाश। एक थप्पा नहीं लगा पासपोर्ट पर।
सोच कर समझ कर इन्वेस्ट कर।
प्रेशर कुकिंग अब एक हाथ का कमाल। प्रेस्टीज है तो मुमकिन है। प्रेस्टीज क्लिप ऑन प्रेशर कुकर, जो सुविधा से करे प्यार, वो प्रेस्टीज से कैसे करे इनकार।
टर्म प्लान लेने का मेरा टर्न, बट इसमें है नो रिटर्न। ईगॉन लाइफ ने किया आविष्कार, मिलेगी मंथली इनकम या
ईगॉन लाइफ का नया आइटम इंश्योरेंस प्लान, अब प्रोटेक्शन के साथ मंथली इनकम।
India's SME landscape is fast evolving and SMEs are embracing the pace of change in scripting their own success stories. SBI General Insurance SME Awards, partnered by Times Network. On the second episode in the series, industry luminaries engage in a power-packed panel discussion around how SMEs are shaping India's larger growth story.
Very integral and important part of the Indian economy, be it in terms of the GDP, be it in terms of manufacturing numbers or in terms of employment.
3 major challenges that MSMEs face. One, mentorship. Money, of course, yes, and market.
The only ways SMEs can really adopt technology and balance it with their, non-tech side of the business is to probably partner with the ecosystem of SMEs who are tech providers.
For you to have a scalable business, it's your time, which is actually the founder's time, the promoter's time, which is actually the most scarce resource.
Catch the special episode at these times.
एक्चुअली लोन लेने का मेरा पर्पस ये था कि मैं 4 साल से भाड़े की दुकान चला रहा था। फिर बाद में कैप्री फाइनेंस से मेरा बात हुआ और इन्होंने मेरे को थोड़ा ये प्रोसीजर ली है और लेकिन करके दे दिए लोन। तो ये खरीदा मैंने दुकान, अभी ये मेरी खुद अपनी दुकान है। इनकम काफ़ी बढ़ गई मेरी। अभी इतना EMI भरने के बाद भी मैं 2-3 लाख रुपए का महीने का धंधा कर लेता हूँ आराम से। मैं कैप्री फाइनेंस का शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरे को लोन दिया और मेरा जो पर्पस था वो पूरा हुआ।
Prince Pipes and Fittings Limited. Initial public offer of equity shares of face value of ₹10 each through the book building process in the price band of ₹177 to ₹178 per equity share. Bid offer opens on Wednesday, December 18th, closes on Friday, December 20th, 2019. For risk factors and other details, please refer to the red herring prospectus available on the websites of SEBI, BSE, NSE and the BRLMs to the offer.
रोहन, छोड़ो ना, अब तो तुम्हारा प्रमोशन भी हो गया है। बड़ा घर लेने का क्या प्लान है?
जिंदगी के हर अपग्रेड के लिए चाहिए सिस्टमैटिक प्लानिंग। म्यूचुअल फंड्स में SIP द्वारा निवेश करें, क्योंकि गोल्स तो बस गोल्स रहेंगे until you ask yourself क्या प्लान है। HDFC म्यूचुअल फंड द्वारा एक निवेशक शिक्षा पहल, भरोसा अपनों का। म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Mandates, the TRAI will decide about the tariff. Till now, the policy has been of forbearance. There is no interference since 2003. So, tariffs, if the telcos have changed, it is for the TRAI to look at it, and I believe they have now issued some consultation paper which is addressing all these issues.
My last question, sir. There have been, fears have been expressed by global head of Vodafone Idea Limited, and now Mr. Chairman also, Chairman of Vodafone Idea Limited as well. So, what would you say about the fact that Vodafone Idea may actually have to shut down its operations given the financial condition the company is in? Any comments on that?
See, I don't think it will be fair for me to comment about any company, because it is for the companies to decide what they want to do. But what I can assure through your channel is that government has taken steps to address the financial stress being faced by the telecom companies. Last year, the spectrum payment installments, which had to be done in 10 installments, was changed to 16 installments. This year, we have given 2-year moratorium on spectrum payment by keeping the net present value intact, which is, I think, a considerable relief for the cash flow. So, from the government side, we would want that there should be competition, 3+1, 3 private players and 1 PSU, MTNL, BSNL, appears to be a good combination. There can be more players also. But finally, it is for each company to decide what they would like to do.
No further relief for telecos. We also got to know that DOT has been telling them to brace up to pay their AGR dues as well.
The AGR matter is before the Supreme Court. Let us await what is the verdict.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so bad with names. I forgot Kumar Mangalam Birla's name while interviewing.
All right, that's the view coming in, just getting a sense as to what the outlook is with respect to telecom. But in the meantime, Chakri Lokpriya is well joining in. Chakri, hi there, good afternoon. Let's talk about your outlook now for the markets in terms of how you see valuations for the mid-caps. Do you think that things are looking lucrative here from a valuation standpoint?
Good afternoon. If we step back and look at the year gone by, 2019, it's largely been led, it's a well-known story, by a handful of stocks. Now the banking index is up about 20, is up 20-odd%. Nifty is up about 11%. The mid-cap index is down about -6 or 7%. But once the corporate tax cut was made, it's clearly boosted the EPS for all companies, mid-caps included, by about 10-odd%. And if you look at in the last couple of months, the mid-cap has been recovering versus the broad-cap market has been recovering versus the large-cap. So in fact, the mid-cap is probably up about 9 or 10%, slightly beating the Nifty. So there is a recovery. So why is this recovery happening is also including the Operation Twist today, which basically lowers down the borrowing cost at the longer end of the curve, where majority of the borrowing in this country exists. I think RBI needs to do a lot more of Operation Twist in the coming weeks and months, but it's a good start and it's already moved down. So from that perspective, mid-caps will benefit more because their borrowing costs will come down, and that's where more stress has been versus some of the well-run large caps.
Okay, Chakri, just stay with us. It's Friday and India's chess grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand spoke with us on winning lessons in life beyond chess. Be sure to catch that exclusive tonight at 9 p.m.
I talk about Dortmund in 2001, where out of the blue, I was having good results and I just won the World Championship in 2000. But in this tournament, I lost an early game against one player I don't like very much, losing to. Then 3 days later, I lost to a guy who's a bit, who lives in his own world. And the reason that loss was painful is because I lost to him. And instead of being gracious about it, he said, "This is an excellent present from you on my birthday." And I mean, my expression when I left the room was priceless. I just thought, I'm going to kill this guy one day. And luckily, when I won the World Championship many years later, I actually beat him. But anyway.
Are you a poor loser?
I hate losing. I think everyone hates it. And in fact, I would say I'm getting worse at it because now I'm really screaming when I get back to the room. But people may not know that because I'm also reasonably good at having a grip on myself till I get to the room. But inside I hate everything, and nowadays I can't even hide it very much. I snap at press conferences, I breeze out of the room, and I can only fake civility for a point, but I can't go beyond that.
Okay. Chakri, a bit of a focus on commodities again, of course. We've seen a bit of an up move, but wondering really whether or not it'll sustain given the outlook on, the global front. as we head into the new year. What's your sense? Which side of the fence would you be on?
You know, even listening to all the policymakers at your conclave, you know, globally the GDP is expected to be revised up for some of the developed countries, including emerging countries. So that's generally good news for commodities in general, that is metals on one side and oil on the other side. Oil is expected to kind of trade range bound between 60-65, good news for India. But I think cyclically, you know, the companies have run their course, that is the metal companies. They're inexpensive, but I think it's been a very long cycle. So there's a kind of a low double-digit return that one can expect from some of the metal companies.
Just want to take cognizance of some of the stocks that are active in today's trading session as we're continuing to hold out for the index around the 12,273 mark. There are quite a few names that are you know, from the broader universe, despite the flat move, that are managing to catch the eye. There's Jamna Auto, Dish TV. Take a look at Corporation Bank, that's active in trade this afternoon. India Bulls Ventures and Reliance Capital are currently in the limelight on the upside. Titan too is active. Moil, Godrej Consumer, and names like Canara Bank, Syndicate Bank, they're all buzzing in today's trade. Kunal, let's get in some chart checks going as well. Come in on the charts of Reliance Capital as well as Titan.
So I think Reliance Capital, Reliance Infra, and I think Arcom, I think all three of them now fall into the same basket of stocks which don't find too much of trader focus. You know, these stocks were erstwhile in F&O as well. And now with the ouster, I think in F&O space for these stocks, you know, the trader interest is not that kind of serious into these stocks, and which is why you don't see decisive trends shaping up into either of the three names. So I believe that these stocks could continue to act as a drag. You know, you might have those bouts of rallies, but the longer term charts are still extremely pessimistic or negative for these three stocks particularly. Titan on the other hand, I think it's a stock which I believe is going through a bit of a range. We discussed how the consumer facing stocks earlier were looking quite attractive, so from the FMCG space, but I believe even Titan is more stronger in that space. It's holding on to those key support levels. 1050, 1100 is where the stock keeps on taking support. Every now and then it bounces off from those levels. So we've seen a similar kind of a bounce shaping up for Titan as well. I believe that this bounce could result into an further up move. 1250, 1245 should be an immediate target from a swing basis for the stock.
Okay. Nirav, let's get some more picks from you as well.
Yeah. See, there are two more picks. The first one is Cadila Healthcare. See, Cadila, if you see, has been broadly in a range of about 260 on the upside and about 240 on the downside in the last few days. But today it has witnessed a breakout above the 200-day moving average as well, which was a resistance. It has given a range breakout as well. So definitely, I believe now it has opened its upside up till about 290, 300 odd levels in a few days' time. But from a trading perspective, I believe 280 to 285 is possible within this month itself. So one should be buying Cadila even as a BTST with a stop loss of 261, which should prove to be a good stop loss. The second call is a buy call on Adani Enterprise. Now, Adani Enterprise, if you see, ever since it has broken out above that 175 odd levels, which was a range that it had for about 2 years odd. After this range breakout, it has continued to move, in a higher top, higher bottom formation. Again, 3-4 weeks of range bound action after the breakout, and then again, today is the range, the range breakout day. So definitely for Adani Enterprise as well, there's a lot of volumes which are being seen, and very likely it is going to go up towards the 240, 245 odd level. So one can buy the stock as BTST as well. You can keep a stop loss of around 213 and go for a target of around 235.
Those are some technical ideas coming your way. Just looking at what the screen is looking like, and Chakri, while the headline number again is not really giving you any causes of complaint, when do you really think a meaningful broader market recovery is going to come in? Come January, we'll have the earnings season, then you'll have the budget as well, early February. What about the earnings recovery growth?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Basically, I think as far as the narrow market is concerned, that is within the narrow market, the financials, their earnings outlook continues to remain fairly robust. And so we are likely to see continued gains in the financial services sector. Now, when it comes to infra, the very large companies like Larsen & Toubro, just sheer size allows them to grow, but earnings are still a challenge for the smaller and lower end of the curve. So consumer is still weak, but autos are likely to make a comeback given that they've had a very bad 2019. So I think that's the approach here. You would have various companies who would benefit from the corporate tax cut. I mean all companies, but companies which are making a profit will get a greater earnings boost going into 2020. So I think, and a lot of expectation is being built into the budget about all kinds of personal tax cuts and GST cuts, which I think is unlikely given the fiscal space is very tight. So against this backdrop, I think earnings recovery would be a very narrow range versus a whole spectrum across sectors.
And within autos then, Chakri, where is it that you see a faster recovery? Because many believe that it's the passenger vehicles which will pick up faster than CVs. Is that your view as well?
Yes, indeed. I think even within that, probably two-wheelers will be the first to come back more versus a car and then commercial vehicle down the road. And also, if you look at the valuations, if you take M&M, Hero Motor, they're all trading at very close to their trough valuations. So there is valuation support, there is sales beginning to come back, and also this BS4, BS6 kind of hoopla will be out of the way as we go into the next year.
Okay, that's the view coming in. Chakri was just understanding that are there any other themes that you would be betting on, say it, be specialty chemicals, agri-based stocks, or even names like paper companies, tourism, are there any of these niche spaces that you would like within the market?
Is a question for me?
Right, Chakri.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. In terms of the other sectors, I think we still like chemicals, yes, and within chemicals we like companies like Aarti, for instance, where companies basically which have both a combination of domestic and export revenue and have a fairly broad base of products. So given the backdrop that still the export markets are still looking fairly strong, so against that backdrop the valuations of many of these chemical companies are still not really heated up, and there's sufficient earnings growth. And so that's a space that we'll clearly look at. And within companies like Gujarat Gas, some of these gas companies are also looking good, and also their prospects will only improve from here on, and their valuations are not demanding yet.
All right, that's the take coming in on some of those niche plays. Some stocks that are just looking a little bit flat with a negative bias or are declining in today's trading session within the broader universe. Dishman Carbogen is down nearly 8%. There's CCD as well in the red. Future Consumer is looking a little bit tempered at as we speak at about 23 rupees. Vedanta is another stock, Bajaj Electricals, Aavas Financiers being another case in point, as well as the Tata Motors DVR, MMTC, Himadri Chemicals, along with Aegis Logistics. Dr. Narayan, let's get in your take on some of the metal stocks on the charts.
Well, I think metals have been faring pretty well, and led from the front by Tata Steel, I would think. And I think Hindalco has been also another very, very decent performing counter, although today Hindalco has not really progressed very much. But I would think that's a stock doing pretty well. Jindal Steel from that area has been quite an active counter, and though there was some news flow which was a bit adverse, stock couldn't be kept downward, and it's sprung back pretty well. I think strong trading element in Jindal Steel and Power. I think if you look at NMDC, I think the chart pattern there is very attractive, and stocks progress is also very steady and consistent. So even at the current level of about 124, NMDC looks worthwhile. Jindal Steel should continue to progress beyond 157 levels, and maybe Tata Steel even at 460 looks worthwhile. So I think these are all stocks to look at, and a stock which may be making a comeback of sorts in the space would be Coal India, which has pipped up again about 200 levels. So I think, overall metal looks pretty spiffy on the charts.
Okay, that's on the metals then. Chakri, let's just talk about the divestment agenda again, BPCL in particular, because we've again, been looking at Anil Agarwal commenting quite profusely about possible interest there. We're still waiting for the roadshows to start as well. Just to relook at that with you and get a sense of, how attractive you feel it'll be, how soon you think it'll roll out.
In terms of valuation, BPCL in anticipation of the stake sale or privatization has actually run up a fair bit. And its valuation today is close to some of the global majors that command in non-regulated companies. So from that perspective, I think the valuation catch-up has already been largely done. There will be some amount of re-rating once the deal actually happens. When the deal happens at this point in time, looks like it's fairly unlikely that it can happen within the next 1 or 2 months, given that some of the legal work, the paperwork is yet not really where it ought to be. But against this backdrop, companies like IOCL and the other refining companies which are trading at a significant discount to what a BPCL is trading at, and therefore there can be some kind of a catch-up in valuation whenever this deal of BPCL happens.
Kunal, comment on the Nifty Bank. What exactly are you advising by way of levels?
So I think 32,500 would remain as a resistance of sorts, and generally when you are heading into a interesting expiry, weekly as well as the monthly expiry, and the yearly close as well, these psychological levels or these round figure levels, they tend to act as key hurdles. Also, what's more interesting is that just 1 week before the actual monthly expiry, which is this week, we've already seen rollovers for many of the stock futures happening. That generally indicates that the next week could be a bit of a sideways or a very low volatile week on the indices, and in that sense as well, I think the first round figure mark on the Bank Nifty could act as a resistance. So I think that's the important resistance which I think a short-term trader should be watching out for. In terms of supports, I think 32,000 still remains to be a strong support for the Bank Nifty. The strength and the rotation in the Bank Nifty, I think, is one of the key highlights for this week, because on one hand you have sideways range price action coming from ICICI Bank, some bit of correction coming in from Kotak Bank, but then to counter that, you have strength coming back into HDFC Bank, especially in the first half of this week, and then the PSU Bank as well. They're resurfacing at the right time. So when you have such kind of a mix, it's difficult to call for a reversal for the Bank Nifty, and which is why I believe that the index could remain in a range, 32,000 as a support and 32,500 approximately as a resistance.
Okay. Chakri, what else from the broader markets, or actually, even from the frontline names? Let's talk about an Indigo, for instance. Has been in the news for all kinds of reasons. Stock price slight amount of action. First we saw a bit of a cut, then it's rebounded. What's your outlook on aviation for 2020?
I think the aviation outlook, has to be one of recovery in terms of, because passenger growth in the recent months has actually slowed down. Against this backdrop, you have companies, 2019 you had the Jet Airways crisis, and therefore a good amount of redistribution of market share. So assuming no such event happens in 2020, you would have SpiceJet, which is taking market share, probably kind of even out. And I think Indigo has largely done with its fleet rejig. So against this backdrop, if they're able to raise tariff, which is always a challenge in India, then it would be more of an investment call. But at this point in time, I think these are still good trading bets. And at this point in time, I'd rather stay away from either of the stocks.
Okay, Chakri, great to have you on the show. Thank you as always for taking the time out and joining in. Closing in absolutely flat, and this has been, I think, the quietest trading sessions that we've had in a while. Let's take it across to Vivek, find out if it's as quiet across dealing rooms. What's the chatter like, Vivek?
Well, you know, it's been a very, very choppy session. Nifty's been extremely range bound. A 40-45 point range is where the Nifty has actually hovered around throughout the trading session. And in fact, you know, as you rightly mentioned, not too much activity happening. Some of the FTSE stocks, especially have a look at SBI Life. These are the names that are actually seeing quite a bit of buying activity in today's trading session. Individual stocks remain in focus. When you're talking about Zee Entertainment, a lot of dealing rooms are seeing HNIs buy in big trades as far as Zee is concerned. They believe that some amount of positive news flow is likely, and on the back of that, they're pre-positioning themselves ahead of a likely rally. The other one, of course, that you need to look out for is Titan. This particular stock that was extremely volatile and saw quite a bit of a sell-off in the last couple of trading sessions on back of you know, a lot of promoter activity in the entire Tata group. This particular stock has seen a very, very sharp rebound today. Dealers believe that this could be the start of a new uptrend. Lastly, Jubilant Foodworks, some rumors going around again regarding to this particular name, and also F&O trends weakened quite considerably. So dealers suggest that shorting this particular stock would be quite shorting, or if not shorting, at least, you know, lightening your positions in this particular name ahead of next week could be a good strategy as far as Jubilant Food is concerned.
All right, thanks very much for giving us the buzz across the dealing rooms, and let's get in some closing strategies as we're just about flitting between the green and the red. 12,272 on the Nifty. Let's find out then where our chartists are placing their bets, and Dr. Narayan, coming to you first.
Well, Shriram Transport has been a big winner today and a pretty robust move, nice support thrust, closing with a lot of momentum. So we should see a spillover next week. So that's a BTST trade for Monday at the current levels. Maybe 10-12 points as stop loss from entry, and we can look at about 20-25 points as potential target. Wipro is the other one that I would recommend as a buy. Stock has been pretty strong within the IT space. 258-260 can be potential target. Initiate long with the stop at 246.
Okay, Kunal, closing comments from you as well?
Well, a couple of stocks which are looking, I would say, quite weak in the last couple of days. One of them is Tata Motors DVR, the stock in the thick of news flow as well. You know, but the charts are not, you know, holding on to those 75 plus levels. The stock tried to test it a couple of days back, but you know, in the last 2 days, there's been more weakness into the stock price. So I believe that this could be a sign of some bit of more weakness into the stock price. Suggest a sell on Tata Motors DVR. Targets to be kept at 69, stop loss at 75 mark. And the second would be a sell on Biocon. You know, I sense that on the daily charts, there is more of a distribution pattern which is happening from those 290 to 296 mark for the stock. And you know, we've seen that the stock is gradually moving up lower. Indicators are now showing signs of weakness as well on the daily as well as on the hourly chart. So Biocon is what I've picked up for a sell. Targets to be kept at 278 and stop loss at 298.
Right, and finally, Nirav, let's get in your calls this afternoon.
Yeah, see, I've already, told about two calls, Cadila and Adani, both are buys. But, there is another call that I'd like to give as well. HDFC Life in the last few minutes has given a price volume breakout. And, after a long consolidation in between about 600 and about 570 on the downside, it has finally broken out above the 600 levels. Closing on a weekly basis also becoming very strong. So, very likely, HDFC Life will now run up towards the 650, 670 odd levels. And very likely it will do so on Monday itself. So, definitely you can look out to buy the stock with a stop loss of 602 and a possible target of about 640.
Okay, let's begin winding up trade then. It's got to be one of the quietest sessions that we've had in a while. While for a weekly change, of course, it's the Nifty has finished in with flying colors and it's been a very positive move. So while we've managed to cling on to roughly around those 12,300 odd levels, in terms of a percentage move, it's been pretty flat today. We haven't moved at all. I can't even say a narrow band really. So while it's been Vedanta, Kotak Bank, Eicher, Tata Motors, ITC on one end, that's the draggers. On the flip side, there's been a Tata Steel, a Titan, Nestle, UPL and SBI, which have managed a strong show. In fact, SBI has pulled up a good 3% as we speak. But within the broader markets, again, there's not been a definitive trend. While the advances have taken over, it's only by a slim margin. Dish TV, Union Bank, Shriram Transport, Torrent Power and Garush Consumer have been winners. On the flip side, the weakness from within the broader markets has come in from the likes of a Biocon, Exide, which has gone home a loser about 2% Tata Motors, DVR, Kunal was just highlighting the same. And then, of course, there's been an Amara Raja Batteries and Ambuja Cement as well, which have been laggards today. But Avan, what about the newsmakers? How have they fared?
Well, a whole host of them. Let's start off with